We will call this public meeting to order. We are going to entertain comments from the public on House File. Give me the number, Christie. 2317. 2317. And you are asked to be limited to 2 minutes. We would like you to speak on the topic of House File 2317. And there are written comments that will be posted on the website in case any of the committee members would want to read those. And this is the ranking member, Representative Jacoby. I don't believe we'll just, to keep things rolling, we will move forward and we will start with the first speaker. And that should be Gary Leffler.
Well, thank you for, go ahead.
Please give us your name, and if you're speaking with a group, we'd appreciate that. If you're just a regular citizen, that's fine.
My name is Gary Leffler. I live in West Des Moines. I'm a regular citizen. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today, and I think that there's a number of issues that need to be looked at when we talk about government spending, government budgeting. One of them, I was down in Minneapolis not too long ago, and they had a $450,000 concession stand. They decided that they needed another one, and they spent $850,000 on their second concession stand in the city of Minneapolis, with a town of less than the school system, I believe, has less than 1,000 students in it. So we need to start taking a look not only how money and the taxes are spent, but how they're allocated and how are they spent. And I don't know if there's a watchdog group on this. I don't know if there's a follow-up group on this. But I saw in the paper here the other day where the governor of the state of Iowa, does anyone in the room know how much the governor makes? Governor makes $130,000 a year. Can anyone tell me how much a county supervisor in Polk County makes? $135,000. I think that there's some things that in addition to what you're working on here and spending, to take a look at currently how these dollars are allocated and how that they can be better, have a little bit more mindful of how that these are the people's money. It's how the people would spend the money. And I think maybe you start off with saying, guess what? There's not going to be a county worker that makes more than the governor of the state of Iowa. I don't know how you actually implement that, but I think it's something that should be looked at. You take down there in Henry County, we had the Pass the Back the Blue event bill last year. But the Back the Blue event meant that the sheriff in Henry County is going to get a $42,000 raise, because what it did was they took Henry County and they said, you're going to be paid in like counties. And so the county supervisor told me, he says, our county sheriff is going to get a $42,000 raise because of that bill that was passed. So these are some things I would tend to believe that are common sense to make our state more competitive. And I agree with the governor in saying, hey, we need to get this tax rate down to 4%. My time is up. I appreciate your time and energy. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. I did, one of the other things I did forget is that my clerk is timing the 2 minutes, and he will hold up when it gets down to 15 seconds, and hopefully you'll see him over here. So appreciate that. Next on the list is Matt Sinovic.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Matt Sinovic. I'm the Executive Director of Progress Iowa from Urbandale, and also a regular citizen. I'm here to oppose House File 2317 and stand with working families across the state who deserve better from Governor Corporate Kim Reynolds and this Republican legislature. Iowans work hard. We take pride in what we do, and we take pride in being good neighbors. I'm here this evening to make sure that those values are lived up to, and because we hear from our network of nearly 70,000 across the state. Iowans have had enough of being left behind and sold out by corporate Kim Reynolds and the Republican majority in this legislature. We've had enough of the Reynolds workforce crisis. Fewer Iowans are working today than when Reynolds took office 10 years ago. Because of corporate Kim Reynolds and the failed policies you all have helped her pass, there aren't enough workers to keep schools, hospitals, and small businesses open. With this tax proposal that gives millions to the wealthiest in our state and puts the hammer down on working families, you are doubling down on the policies that created her workforce crisis. Republicans have already tried giving wealthy and big businesses tax breaks while taking money away from our public schools, public safety, and healthcare services. You've tried selling out. Why not try building our state and invest in one another as good neighbors? If you do that today, you'll make Iowa a better place for all of us and for years to come, instead of giving a short-term handout to the wealthiest few. We need a new direction to solve the Reynolds workforce crisis and create a state where everyone can thrive. Let's start today to make Iowa a better place where folks want to live, work, and raise a family. Thank you.
Next is J.D. Davis.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is J.D. Davis. I'm the Vice President of Public Policy for the Iowa Association of Business and Industry, and I'm here today to speak on behalf of the association. We are 1,500 members statewide, but with 330,000 employees, all of them taxpayers, and would like to congratulate the committee, the governor, and a similar committee on the Senate side for bringing forward thoughtful tax relief policy that you're considering. Specifically to your bill in front of you today, the provisions on employee stock ownership, we believe that is going to really increase the amount of companies we have in Iowa that are actually going to have employees in ownership positions, and is going to be very good in creating wealth in Iowa and helping folks have a stake in the businesses they're working for. We think that's a great provision. We understand the governor's and your intention of making sure that retirement is something that is enjoyed by farmers and non-farmers alike, and we like the way that you're approaching figuring out how to get that broad-based. We also support a movement to a lower and flatter tax rate, thinking that is a fair proposal, and are thankful that you have that included in your provision. And probably one of the features that has had the most conversation is the elimination of taxation on retirement income. And just speaking as an organization that has member owners of businesses, I can tell you they've been commenting greatly that this has the effect of allowing people to stay in Iowa in their retirement when their income is exposed to taxation. We think this is going to do nice things for the communities they're in, for them to stay active in philanthropy and do those types of things that are an unintended good consequence of the legislation. So I would just also say there is relief for businesses in this bill through S corporations. We just hope that all categories of businesses are considered in your final product. Thank you.
Thank you. Anna Gray.
Hi, thank you for hosting this meeting and providing the opportunity for public input. My name is Anna Gray. I'm the Public Policy Director at Iowa Natural Heritage Foundation. INHF is a statewide conservation organization representing over 6,000 members in each of Iowa's counties in our mission to protect and restore Iowa's land, water, and wildlife. Our current position on the bill as currently written is neutral. However, we would fully support a bill that includes funding for the Natural Resources and Outdoor Recreation Trust Fund. As many of you know, the trust fund was created by voters 12 years ago, but requires legislative action for funding. Once funded, the trust would provide immediate and significant impacts in improving our water quality, agricultural conservation, recreational trails, and the quality of life amenities that make Iowa an attractive place to live and work. As you weigh various tax policies and ideas for making Iowa a competitive state for economic growth and workforce development, we encourage you to consider the trust fund and its potential and include it in your final tax reform bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list is Dr. Audrey Hyatt.
Yeah, Audrey Hyatt. I'm the legislative liaison for the National Active Retired Federal Employees. We call it NARF. Iowa has about 22,000 total Iowa retirees and has over 38,000 active federal employees who are currently employed. And about 31% of those federal employees are military veterans working primarily for the Department of Veterans Affairs and the Postal Services. NARF supports the all retirement income taxation exclusion in this bill. Still, it is incorrect for 2022 to overlook the remaining unfair taxation upon thousands of some Iowa retirees who do not receive Social Security, military, or railroad retirement pension income. Military and railroad Social Security pensioners back to 2014, 1934 and 2014 respectively already received the 100% taxation exclusion plus the traditional IRA type exclusion of the 6,000 single filers. There are 12,000 federal Iowa retirees under the old system, and there are also many Iowa state and city level police and firefighter retirees because they receive no Social Security, rather a substitute pension receives zero taxation exclusion and only the $6,000 exemption. These federal civil service retirees, police and firefighters are not akin to a Keogh plan, traditional IRA, 401, 403 type retirement account. So we request to please amend HF 23 to include language for those Iowans to receive the Iowa 100% taxation exclusion on their Social Security substitute pension and define those systems within that bill, civil service retirement, police and firefighters, but retroactive to January 2022, with the remaining retirement excluded as you've written it in January 2023. Thank you for all your hard work. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Raymond Phillips here in the Norwalk area. According to my accountant, decreasing the income taxes to 0% for everyone will only help the rich and will provide nothing for the senior citizens or the middle class. As a senior citizen, of all my annual costs, including insurance, medical, groceries, and utilities, my property taxes are my highest cost. If you want to help senior citizens do something about home property taxes, we need help with our home property taxes. The legislature recently set the property tax rollback for homes to 56% and the rollback for business property taxes to 90%. Since, like the businesses, senior citizens do not have children in schools, and it is more economical for senior citizens to live in their own home, I suggest senior citizens above 65 years of age also get the 90% rollback on property taxes. And as an alternate, you could just freeze the taxes at the age of 65, the property taxes. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Ann Disher. I'm the Executive Director of Common Good Iowa, and I'm here to share our principal concerns with this legislation. First, this bill will make Iowa's already unfair tax system even more unfair. Iowa's tax system is upside down. The bottom 80% of taxpayers pay about 10 to 12% of their incomes in state and local taxes. At the top, it's less than 8%. That's because our mildly progressive income tax simply cannot make up for our highly regressive property and sales taxes. And now we're talking about more income tax cuts that would overwhelmingly benefit the highest income Iowans. Analysis of two major provisions of this bill, the retirement income tax exemption and the 4% flat tax, shows that 76% of the benefit goes to the top 20% of taxpayers. More than a quarter of Iowans in the lowest income groups, those who already pay the higher share of their incomes in state and local taxes, will get no benefit at all from these provisions. Among middle income retired Iowans, the average tax cut from the retirement exclusion would be $610. No one is going to decide to stay in Iowa or to leave Iowa over $610. Our second concern is the bill's inevitable damage to public services. There's simply no way to make these kinds of permanent tax cuts without decimating our state budget. The personal income tax generates half of the state's general fund. That's schools, health and human services, environmental protection, justice. Kansas lawmakers passed big tax cuts back in 2010 and 13. Then when revenues crashed, they used up revenues, they postponed projects, they skipped payments to retirement. They closed schools early when funds ran out, and most of the cuts were eventually repealed. But a half a decade after that repeal, Kansas still has a negligible rainy day fund, and its public employee retirement system is dangerously underfunded. We do not need more tax cuts that further privilege the already privileged few. Thank you.
Thank you for having public hearing. I'm Jake Highfield, represent Iowans for Tax Relief and also the Home Builders Association. I'm also speaking for Victoria. She is out today. We fully support the bill. Both of us do, both clients do, but also want to thank the governor's office, the House, and the Senate for working together and trying to find a compromise. We believe in working towards a lowering the income tax in the state of Iowa. Also, the retirement piece of the bill, we really like that piece. And all three chambers or branches have all agreed upon that too. So we support the bill. Thank you very much for having this hearing.
Hello, my name is Pete Hurd. With the Iowa Federation of Labor, AFL-CIO, our organization is made up of over 500 union locals representing over 50,000 working and retired Iowans. And we are opposed to the bill. The working class has forever battled with economic barons who've ruled over us with their financial power. Looking at the past century, it took decades for working people to finally be able to pull their heads above water after the Great Depression, only to be sold out by corporate greed in the 60s and 80s with massive tax cuts to the rich. Since then, we've seen selfish and greedy behavior that benefits the wealthiest of wealthiest individuals. We have seen the ability to form unions become ever more increasingly difficult, with loads of money being spent to divide and split people as they attempt to form collective action. We've seen our water polluted by chemicals and attempts for it to be siphoned under our feet to be sold to the highest bidder. We've seen our retirement accounts gambled away by those who can manipulate markets. We are seeing big investors buying affordable homes at a record rate, pricing people out of their credit range, but leaving them little choice but to pay high rent. We've seen money go to the top corrupt. We've seen money from the top corrupt and influence politicians to the point where the average person barely has a voice of influence. When will the rich have enough? This bill contains glitter some may see as improvement, but beware, the flat tax benefits the wealthiest of taxpayers by far the most. This will have a negative impact on our education system and the health and human services that Iowans absolutely need. Money is power, and we are about to give even more power to those who are already wielded against us for financial gain. Thank you.
Good evening, Drew Klein. I'm the state director with Americans for Prosperity here in Iowa. And I'm here this evening to speak in favor of the bill in front of us and the subject of tax cuts more broadly. It's no secret we're in the middle of another round of redistricting, and it reminds us every 10 years that the states that have been more competitive in their tax environment continue to grow, and those that are uncompetitive in their tax environment continue to fall flat and shrink. That is true of Iowa today. And I look forward to the opportunity where we're figuring out where we carve a 5th congressional district into the state of Iowa rather than reshaping 4 congressional districts. And I think tax reform plays a role in that long-term vision for the state of Iowa. We hear oftentimes about investing in Iowa's future. And I think oftentimes when you hear people talk about that, they talk about it as though the only lens, the only possibility of investment in the state of Iowa comes through state government. The reality is when moms and dads go out and spend money in their community, they're investing in the future of Iowa. When young entrepreneurs stand up a business, they're investing in their communities, they're investing in the future of Iowa. The bill in front of us continues to drive real investment in the state of Iowa through the most important vehicle to have that investment made, the people of Iowa. When you put money back in the pockets of everyday Iowans, they invest in their futures, and our future as a state is intrinsically tied to the investments that they make. We certainly support the proposal in front of us, and we look forward to the legislature continuing to work together with the governor's office and the Senate to put more of that money back into the hardworking pockets of Iowans. Thank you.
Thank you. Sharon Presnell with the Iowa Bankers Association. I would like to thank the members for bringing this proposal forward. It might well be the best thing that you all can do this session to help grow population and workforce in Iowa. So we appreciate and support the proposal. We also respectfully ask that you consider including tax equity among financial service providers in your final product. Iowa has more community banks per capita than any other state in the nation, many of which are located in the rural parts of our state. These banks are at a significant tax disadvantage among other financial service providers, and with nearly 1,500 locations, Iowa banks do serve all Iowans. According to the Federal Reserve, 81% of small businesses sought loans from Iowa banks. That's compared to the national average of 44%. And Iowa has an unbanked population of 2.6% compared to the national average of 5.4%. Additionally, Iowa Bank stepped up to the plate during the pandemic, making 173,000 PPP loans totaling $8 billion and saving over 800,000 jobs according to the Small Business Administration. And nearly all of these loans were made by Iowa banks rather than our tax benefited competitors. We are open to working with you on solutions, but the current income tax disparity is unsustainable for Iowa banks, and the problem does need a solution. Thank you again for bringing the bill forward.
That concludes the people that wanted to address the public hearing. As I will remind you, the written comments will be put up, or they are up on the website. With the link? Great, thank you, and we will now close this public hearing.